With 6 winners and 7 rounds, you'd think the fight at the top would be terribly close. But Holly's worst 2 finishes are a 12th and a 5th, with last week being the former. Every other race, he's been on the podium. Will the road course here at Daytona give someone that chance to slash more off his lead? We'll find out soon as we get ready to watch Round 8 of the PRL NASCAR Truck Series, and you'll see it all live here on the Global SimRacing channel. Hi, I'm Joe Peak, and with me in the booth is Chris Phoebe. Behind the scenes is our director, Sean Crackers Ambrose, and he's using cameras provided by Dougie Beard. Daytona's road course has been around for decades and is known worldwide due to the Rolex 24. But the recent addition of a NASCAR version has given drivers a new layout to learn. Let's head to our track guide to see what's changed. Welcome to the Daytona International Speedway. While many oval fans associate this Central Florida track with mainly NASCAR, the road course has gained just as much worldwide fame thanks to it hosting motorcycles and sports cars for decades. In fact, the flagship road race, the 24 Hours of Daytona, has become a major draw for drivers of all disciplines, many eager to have a go at endurance racing. The stats make this place sound relatively simple, with 12 corners on the regular road circuit and 14 on the NASCAR version, both spread amongst 3.5 miles. Indeed, a majority of the lap is spent on the oval portion, where you fly along the notoriously steep banking. But it's easy to underestimate the challenge presented to the drivers. The infield portion begins with the scary kinked entry of Turn 1. Not only is it the fastest part of the track, but the transition from the banking to the flat tends to upset the car as you slow it down. There's also the bus stop chicane on the backstretch. Added in the 80s, this is a tricky piece of circuit that punishes a poor exit severely, with it leading back into the latter half of the oval. As you'd expect, the long periods on throttle mean that drafting tends to play a factor in the racing. It also means passing isn't usually too great of an issue if you have the pace to catch someone. The more difficult thing is managing to gap your opponent so that they don't ride in your slipstream once you get by. With half a century of endurance racing collected among these walls, it's not unfair to say that road racers have just as much claim to call Daytona home. Fans who come to watch certainly won't be disappointed by the high speeds and fantastic thrills it invariably provides each year. Of course, in the real world, we've recently gotten to watch the Cup cars take their way around this NASCAR version of the road course, Chris. But what about with these trucks today?
Well, the fun part about these trucks is they're big and heavy and hard to get up to speed. So the oval sections of this track are going to be really fun. Also, given that there's so much versatility between the sections of this track, look for everybody to struggle in their own unique way based on their driving style. Looks like right now the biggest Achilles heel for everybody is that bus stop on the oval track backstretch. So it's going to be a bit of a curveball for these drivers trying to compromise on what is the fast way around this track, and looking forward to plenty of passing opportunities here around this road course.
It should be entertaining to watch at the least, but today's race is brought to you by SimMSA. Simulation Motorsports Affinity provides many consulting services, from completely customizing simulators to managing teams, individual drivers, and complete events. They're working hard to bring everyone together at one place to support and promote sim racing internationally. Find out how you can bridge the gap between virtual and real motorsports at SimMSA.net.
The PRL NASCAR Truck Series is also brought to you by NinjaTrader. Ready to compete against the financial markets? Supporting over 60,000 users across the globe, NinjaTrader provides award-winning trading software and brokerage services. NinjaTrader is always free to use for advanced charting, backtesting, and trade simulation. Visit NinjaTrader.com to get started with a risk-free trading simulator and start tracking your performance.
Today's broadcast is also proudly sponsored by Butt Kicker. Butt Kicker products add an incredible immersion and realism to any game. Feel every nuance and truly put yourself in the driver's seat. Check them out at thebuttkicker.com. Now let's take a look at the championship points here, starting with the drivers, of course. And Bradley Hawley with a big gap back to Abner Acosta still. And it's almost the same amount back to Daniel Knight in third. So the drivers certainly are being kept on their toes. as Aaron Mulrooney Jr. and Thomas Sink are still about a point each back behind them. So should at least be fun for that third place position, but it's going to be hard to try and gain on the top two. Meanwhile, what are the teams championship like?
Well, last week was a small upset as the Riding Shotgun Outlaw team took the overall team's win. And that's shaking up things just a little bit, tightening up towards the middle section of our top five. The Whataback Overdrive Racing team still a pretty solid lead with 37 markers ahead of the Back Row Racing squad. Then the Whataback Next Level team hanging out quite a ways back there in third. But this is where it heats up with just a handful of points between them and the Car Ramrod team in fourth. And then Rescue Racing Squad 3 still hanging out in that fifth position within striking distance of moving up.
So for our race today itself, we've got a bit of an interesting one since it is a road course today. So we've got 25 laps actually, that they will be running out there. They have no spare cars. So if they get damaged, they've got to come in and get it fixed. The good news is they will expect at least one pit stop today. And it is a fixed setup, so they don't have to worry about trying to get it to handle too well on this road course. It'll be provided to them. But there is a 24 incident limit. We heard about the bus stop causing problems. It's easy to rack up those incidents there. And without cautions here today, if you have an incident, it's going to be tough to try and catch back up to the field. Now, speaking of which, I noticed that the 184 of Bradley Hawley has yet to put a time down because he missed his first lap. So he's got to get a banker in here because they only get 2 laps. And there you see him on screen. Before him, that was Abner Acosta in the number 5, who currently holds the provisional pole. And I'm sure Abner is probably secretly hoping that this 184 doesn't get another clean one, or at least a good one.
Yeah, Bradley was quickest in practice by a pretty decent margin. And Abner definitely has the edge as far as experience goes on these road courses. But as far as driving this particular vehicle on a road course, it's tough to beat Bradley Hawley, as we found out at Road America a few weeks back. Certainly.
Well, let's see what the second lap holds. As he crosses the line, it's a 56.9, and that will be pole by less than a tenth of a second. He eked through. So Acosta, unfortunately, won't get the bonus points for that one. Instead, we look at Cervantes, who has yet to set a time as well. But we're going to watch Westerfield, comes out of that final extra chicane that they've added for the Cup cars and other various stock cars that race here now. 11th place, good enough for him. Don't expect to see the likes of William Lee, Ryan Traver, or Shelby Huff out during this qualifying, though, as they've been given end-of-line penalties.
Following along with Dominic Beijing here. He's another showed at Road America some proficiency on these road courses, so I'm interested to see what he's able to turn here on this hot lap.
Yeah, he's another one that seems to have had an off track somewhere on that first time around. So the 66 looking to try and get this one clean because this is his last attempt. We're still missing a number of drivers, and it's too late to get started if they did want to get a time in. So plenty are apparently opting to start from the back of the field, which, unlike normal Daytona, is going to be a little bit tougher today, I imagine. Beijing out into the line around the tri-oval. Let's see what it's going to be. And a 1:59.2 is good enough for 10th place, about 2.5 seconds off of the pole. Looks like Hunter's abandoning his final lap. So the 89 of Kulhanik will be the last one to set a time. Everybody else not able to come around and put one on the board. Let's see what he's got underneath him as he crosses. It is a 2:07.3. That is way off the pace, so he'll be last of the field who has qualified ahead of all those who have decided they don't want it today. That means our order is set, so let's go through that starting grid. Bradley Hawley is on the pole, but just barely over Abner Acosta when put under immense pressure to try and perform. Thomas Sink will be behind them in row 2, and Mark Kalin manages to put it on the outside of that row. It's Doug Evans starting in 5th with Danny Cervantes up into P6, and Brennan Chatley starts 7th. Then it's Daniel Knight in 8th. Inside of row 5, Adam Zemke will be flanked by Dominic Beijing in 10th.
Just outside of the top 10 is Nicholas Schwartz in 11th with Nicholas Hunter to his outside, Jim Westerfield in 13th, followed by Patrick Cowgill in 14th. Colton Lane will be inside of row number 8 with Brandon Walter to his outside. Then Stacy Hunter in 17th, Matthew Kohanek, the last driver to put in a time, will start 18th, Aaron Webb 19th, and John LaBaff 20th.
Then from there, you can see we've got Blaine Adams with Matthew Aubry, William Lee, William Farmer, Adam Shane, and Ryan Traver, all rounding out our 26-car field here today. 27 cars, actually, I can see. And Traver, unfortunately, looks like he is out of the session right now, so not sure that he'll be able to take to the grid. We'll wait for them to get going here on the backstretch. It'll be just briefly before the bus stop chicane, before they'll work their way around NASCAR 3 and 4 through the final chicane, and off they go for 25 laps around here. The temperatures are not going to be paying any favors to these trucks today, Chris. It looks like tire management going to be a huge key, as it's 105 degrees Fahrenheit on the surface.
Yeah, that's hot enough to melt your flip-flops by any means.
That's a good way of putting it. As we wait for them to accelerate away, and Bradley Holly on the pole again, looking to extend his points lead over the man who will be chasing him off the start. Of course, we're missing a few of our regulars, as there's a number of drivers from Texas who usually show up. So our thoughts definitely go out to all of those down, honestly, all throughout the central U.S. that are experiencing some incredibly cold temperatures, and especially those in Texas who are without heat and other facilities right now. So I know how that can be at times, as I've lost heat in the winter up here, and it is certainly not fun. Meanwhile, we've got a fair bit of cars and a wide spread of times. What do you think about traffic here today, Chris? I mean, it's a decently long lap, but with the cars being so far apart in some cases, I wonder if they're going to catch the back of the field somewhat quickly.
Yeah, I mean, there is a beyond 10-second gap in some of the qualifying times, and with some of these drivers that don't have a lot of road racing experience, I think for the faster drivers, this is going to be almost like a multi-class race, with running down maybe some of these slower drivers. And it's nothing against those drivers by any means. This is a road racing, especially in this type of vehicle, is a whole different style of racing than what any of us are used to. I mean, these are vehicles that are not meant to turn right, and you're wrestling it around this track. So without that finesse and experience, it is definitely a challenge. So a lot of drivers will be getting some valuable experience today here as well.
I wonder if that sports car experience for Acosta will come in handy as you compared it to a multi-class race. Meanwhile, there goes the Porsche pace car. Holly has control. It's going to be tough to get out of that chicane, as most of them are still accelerating. Green flag waves. Very good start for Holly. And behind him, Thomas Sink got a run, but had to check up because he couldn't pass him before the start-finish line. They plunge into the first corner. Even with regular road cars, you can see a lot of problems in this first turn on the starts, but so far, a very patient field kind of trundles around that left-hander.
Yeah, I think everyone is collectively timid as far as that first turn on this road course here. It is not an easy turn to make by any means. It's a really weird braking zone. So nice to see everybody playing nice and giving each other plenty of room.
A little bit of side-by-side racing at first through the International Horseshoe, but that's now pretty much gone single file all the way through the field. And up at the front of it, Bradley Holly leads with already an 0.8 of a second lead over Thomas Sink. Let's see what the banking holds as they come back onto the oval for the first time.
This is for me at least, this is a really frustrating part of the track for me, because you're so used to seeing those banks at Daytona, and you're just wide open and flying, and you feel like you're trying to get up to speed with an anchor hanging out the back of your truck. So this is for an oval racer like me, this is a very, very frustrating part of the track.
Getting on the binders along the back stretch into the bus stop chicane. Not seeing anybody on the attack at the moment. They're all just kind of working their way through. You said it before, a bit of a timid start, but I think that's a good thing because those tires are certainly going to separate a few. A little bit of wheel spin there from somebody in a yellow truck. Didn't quite see who that was. I think that was the 31 of Cowgill, almost losing touch. And then we got the giant turtle curves on the final chicane. Oh, and we got someone missing it.
Looks like it was Dominic Beijing missing it. He'll have that slow down as he comes out of the chicane.
And on the first lap, too, that'll hurt extra hard. Takes a lot more time from you when you haven't set an example time as the sim kind of errs on the side of safety and gives you quite a bit of pain. They come, oh my goodness, he's still having to fight cars trying to come through as he works his way towards the International Horseshoe. He's going to be on the outside of Nick Hunter. And behind him, another side-by-side battle. That's Cowgill and Westerfield. Brandon Walter watching all four of them as they come up to the kink. Hunter once again on the outside, and Dominic Pagine finally solidifies himself into 11th. A little bit of a peek from Cowgill to try and do something on Hunter, but that is not going to stick. And we had a pass for second, if I'm seeing correctly.
Yeah, Joe, looks like Abner Acosta was able to get back by Thomas Sink for that runner-up position.
Nicely done. Let's take a look at the incident with Pagine first while we have a bit of space here and see if he just overshot himself or maybe he got unsighted. Maybe he had some help. Ooh, oh, the 25 is very close behind him, so it could have been that he had help. That's Cervantes, who's riding along on the outside, threatening to try and overtake. Nope, that was all on his own. The Canadian just getting a little too eager.
You know, Joe, sometimes when you have somebody trying to pass you like that, you're paying attention to your surroundings and you can miss your braking point trying to defend the position. So that may have been what happened there to Dominic as he was coming into that chicane on the front stretch there, and unfortunately locked it up and lost a ton of positions because of it.
Holly setting another fastest lap ahead of Acosta by 3.3 seconds. Sink now down almost 2 seconds behind Acosta, so Abner's now trying to make do with the free air that he's got in front of him. This is our leader, Bradley Holly, taking it down and around the International Horseshoe and looking to claim maximum points for only the third time, shockingly. Only 2 wins this season.
Yeah, you mentioned it in the pre-race show there, Joe. It's been such a wide spread of different winners this season, which hasn't been the case the last few seasons. But now we have a battle going on with one of those.
And just Brandon as we tried to go to the battle, yeah, for Chatley, Walter looks like he was turned around there, and then I think it was Jim Westerfield off track. So I suspect these two may be involved. No contact between them. Just both kind of went in a little bit hot. Here we go. Let's watch them on board. Yeah, both of them just came in with too much steam and went off in sympathy.
Well, it's always nice to have a friend.
Maybe they would have liked it in different circumstances, but you're right. Misery loves company. So back onto the track they go. And again, no cautions here in the road course racing for the series. So they have to just make up that time with hard work. We're now watching Zemke instead, who sits in 8th, being chased by Brennan Chatley. As we mentioned before we shied away, the 59 has been in a little bit of a battle up to the final chicane. Let's see if either of them can make up ground through here. It is tough trying to drive through this thing. It may look simple, but it is punishing.
Especially with those giant turtle curves.
No doubt about that. Nobody really able to gain much between the pair of them at that point. Now, some of our viewers may have noticed that we've been seeing Racing for John on the tops of the windshields of the cars. And of course, if you tuned in last week, you saw the tribute that they had paid to John King and the three-wide salute that they did for him before the race. Of course, John has been an organizer of big series such as the Majors and very involved with the Kinetic Racing team. So many have decided, because of their association with John or just their friendship with him, they've been showing their support and raising funds to help him in his time of need after he has ended his battle with cancer and stopped treatment. Meanwhile, we're looking at the battle for fifth. This is Mark Kalin up in front of Doug Evans and Danny Cervantes. Cervantes having gained a spot after we saw Bajin go off track, and he's spying two more.
That's always the most fun positions to gain are the ones that you don't have to work for, like Cervantes got when Dominic went off in that chicane. Now he's looking to capitalize and run down the next two trucks in front of him.
Wow, he's very strong down into the bus stop. Gains a lot of time under braking. Can he get it off the corner? Looks pretty decent. He's got it down to 0.6 of a second on Doug Evans in front of him, but none of them within attacking range. So as the green number 62 of Mark Kalin now slows it up into the last chicane. They all wiggle their way between those tall yellow and blue curbs. Nobody clobbering them too hard, but also nobody gaining. Meanwhile, Stacy Hunter with an issue. Our winner from last week on the Daytona Oval seems to be the first victim of the bus stop chicane. Yeah, wow. Loose very early in, and I don't think he even touched the wall. I think he managed to get away with that.
Yeah, it looks like just maybe a bad approach to the bus stop, which is not too hard to do. So tough break for our winner from 1 week ago. Looks like Daytona won't be as nice.
Oh, Cervantes is unfortunately not moving forward. He's moving backwards. This one, his own fault, getting a little taste of that medicine you were just talking about as he gives up spots to those around him. Ooh, he was already loose coming down towards the International Horseshoe, and this is where it happens, coming off.
Yeah, back end stepped around on him, but lucky it didn't come across the track when it came back around. Yeah, very, very nearly could have been clobbered.
And for B3, we've got side-by-side Daniel Knight to the inside of Thomas Sink. They're coming down towards the bus stop chicane, and it appears that Knight might have the upper hand. He's fully ahead. Indeed, Thomas Sink backs out of it. He'll have to fight again later.
Yeah, just a textbook pass by Daniel Knight there.
Sink, one of those that has garnered a win. Knight has garnered a win. Sink has not thus far this season, but both of them within the top 5 in the points. Look at how close Daniel is getting to that outside wall. That right-hand shotgun car nearly scraping that safer barrier, and he definitely scrapes the curb as he almost loses it.
Yeah, he definitely got a little squirrely there. That's definitely going to be one of those moments where you tighten up your grip on the wheel a little bit.
Definitely seems to have gotten away with it. Sink has not closed in on him after that slip up. Already on lap 6 as the circuits are trickling through. 17 still retains that podium position. I'm curious to see when we'll start to see pit stops as we watch from Mark Kalin's perspective. He was leading a trio of cars before. Now the 62 is looking to see if he can gain on 4th.
Doing a pretty solid job, too. He's cut that gap down quite a bit.
Absolutely. So he takes it off the Western Horseshoe. Ooh, a little bit of a tail waggle there himself. Coming up towards turn 6, a short shoot, and then all of them having to try and get traction as best they can, and once again managing those rear tires, some having a better time than others, as we can see the nose just starting to point in the wrong direction slightly here and there for Mark Kalin. He's 1.2 seconds back from sync with all those slip-ups.
And this is not a very easy course as far as tire management goes. Mentioned earlier on, this track has a lot of variety to it. High-speed sections, technical sections, and with that much variety, it's really hard to get into that mindset of having to save your equipment because you're so focused on racing the track itself. So that's going to be a challenge as we get deeper into this run, is keeping the tires underneath you.
Ooh, Bajin is on his way back through the field. Looks like he might have a spot. He goes underneath Chatley, who doesn't fight him too hard. Indeed, the 59 lets him go through. So Dominic Bajin back up into 8th. In fact, that's still higher than where he started. So Bajin's on a net positive.
I'm sure he's going to be kicking himself for that mistake earlier on, but he's definitely doing a great job driving back up through the field.
I would have expected him to be much farther down, especially getting a slowdown penalty on the first lap. But great management from the 66. As next on his list is going to be Adam Zemke. And he's actually ahead of the driver that he gave up a spot to initially with that mistake into the final chicane. Cervantes is still behind him in 11th place. So I guess that is perhaps a bit of poetic justice for Bajin. Oh, and is Sink losing a position? I think he is. Mark Kalin manages to get beside him coming down to turn 6, and he's going to complete the pass. Let's see how this happens. I wonder if this is another case of wheel spin. If the 48 maybe just got a little too greedy, or was it on the way in? Oh, that looks like on the way in. He goes way wide. Kalin spots it, almost doors him out of the way, but makes it clean.
What's funny about that too, Joe, is coming off the last corner, it looked like Kalin got a little bit loose himself, but obviously had a tremendous recovery and capitalized on the door being left open and took another position.
I'm quite impressed with Kalin out here today. Granted, he's only just getting back to where he started. He qualified 4th. That pass was for 4th. Up in front of him is Daniel Knight. So we watch from on board Mark looking back at the driver he just recently overtook. My goodness, the gap up ahead of him, though. When you get to Daniel Knight, then suddenly everybody disappears. It is 10 seconds up to Acosta and another 2.5 up to Bradley Hawley.
Well, with road racing, a lot of times it is a cream rising to the top type of situation. There's not a lot to lean on as far as anything besides skill and proficiency at these types of tracks. And as you can see, probably our 2 best road racers in the field are 1 and 2 right now.
Actually, I wonder if we could get a lap comparison between P1 and P2. Because I just noticed that Acosta is closer than he was when he first managed to get back ahead of Sink into P2. Here's from onboard Abner. Let's see what they look like comparing the laps here. Oh, wow. Wow. Holly's been slower 4 of the last 5 laps. That is honestly entirely unexpected.
Yeah, but with the 184 out in front, do you think maybe there is something going into it that might be trying to tire save? I'm not to sell the skill of Abner Acosta short by any means, but it could not. Well, it's not out of character for Bradley Hawley to be saving his equipment and taking it easy and managing his lead.
You know, I think you're onto something there. Especially if he knew that Abner got overtaken early on, he could afford to give up a little bit. So we'll watch and see. I guess how the cars behave towards the end of the run will really tell the tale. He sends it down into this final chicane. And on their way out, let's see what the laps are going to be this time by. Last time, actually a lot slower for Hawley at a 2-minute 4 and Acosta at a 1:59.8. This time Hawley with a 2-minute 1 and Acosta a 2-minute 0.2. So 1/10 slower for Abner. Whatever pace that he found seems to have gone away ever so slightly.
It does look like Holly is approaching some slower traffic as well, so, well, maybe not.
Well, William Lee making life nice and easy for him and just pulling off the road. Not sure if that was intentional or if he saw the leader in his mirror and got too scared and ran himself off.
I was having a 4-Drink Friday flashback for a second there, Joe.
Which we have tomorrow night, by the way, so fun times will abound soon. All right.
Wow, must have been a lot of drinks if it's 4-Drink Friday on a Thursday.
Oh, yes, 2 nights from now. I keep thinking today's Thursday. I don't know why. I swear I have not had 4-Drink Friday early myself. Meanwhile, I think Walter just got by Cowgill for 12th place. I saw an exchange of positions there. Yeah, let's see if we can get this one. This is down into turn 1, which is usually a lot easier in the regular sports car version, but this version, I would think it without much of a run, it's so much tougher. Yeah, there he goes, down to the inside.
Pretty neat and tidy little pass there.
Certainly, the 99 up into 12th because of that. He's got a long ways to go to get to the next car, though. It's about 14 seconds to Cervantes, who is the one in front of him. In fact, a lot of drivers have spread out pretty well. But Bajin has already gained on Adam Zemke. This is for 7th position. Zemke actually just got on the radio and told him to head through. So I think Adam is more concerned with running his own race. He doesn't want to try and trifle with the Canadian. So one more position for the 66.
Yeah, he's continuing to chop his way through the field here. We'll see how things end up once we get to pit stops as well.
Took a lot of curb, though, there, and he was very slow off the corner. Has to stay defensive on Adam, at least for a brief moment. No exchange between the two of them. They're going to stay in position. As all this has been happening, Mark Kalin has suddenly gotten right on top of Daniel Knight. In fact, he was almost pushing his rear bumper around the International Horseshoe. The 62 starting to apply pressure. Ooh, he's staying much tighter to the inside as well.
So he's definitely trying to run where Daniel Knight is not through that turn.
Not something you have to do as much necessarily in road course racing, but a novel approach nonetheless. Here we go. Maybe he can pull a little bit of a slipstream coming down the backstretch as they pick up speed. And these things do have some get up and go. It's already 160 miles an hour, and they're not even off the banking. 170 as Daniel Knight approaches the braking zone. 176 he topped out at before he gets on the binders. Slowing it up down to 80 miles an hour through the bus stop chicane. Kalin looking to get the traction as we ride on his helmet cam, looking up at the 17.
They're doing a great job just holding a pretty wheel, as they like to say, and keeping these laps pretty clean and pretty tidy.
Don't have to go to it, but I can report that Nick Hunter lost another spot due to self-made error. Went a little off in turn 6. Thankfully didn't go behind the barriers like some drivers we've seen recently, and just kept going.
Looked like Kalin got a little bit more curb than he wanted there for a moment. Joe lost a little bit of ground as they headed off towards turn 1.
Yeah, that cost him some time. He's down now 7/10 down from Daniel Knight. They work their way into the infield yet again, getting close to the halfway marker. Who splits it equally in half and who decides to try and run long and see if they can use those fresh tires a little bit better over the latter half of the race. Both of them definitely looking like they're pushing here, as I can see those cars really leaning on each side.
It is really fun to watch these drivers throw these trucks around this road course. It's these are big and heavy vehicles to be driving. They're not like the nimble sports cars we're used to seeing on this track before. So it's a treat for me to watch these guys just throw these trucks around.
me curious. Maybe the Peanut Gallery knows this. What was the first road course that the Truck Series ran? And what was it? I'll have to check that up a little bit later because obviously they've been doing it for at least a little bit now, but places like MotorSports hosting them as they come down the backstretch into the bus stop one more time. Ooh, whoa, whoa, way hot into the corner, too hot into the corner, and off into the grass. Mark Kalin is going to have to cut the course. He'll get an automatic slowdown penalty for that, and what was within a second for many laps is going to extend a lot farther than that now.
Yeah, that is definitely going to be frustrating.
All right, and still haven't seen any scheduled stops that I can tell. Drivers are still wheeling it around and waiting patiently as the middle way of this lap will mark the halfway point. Bradley Hawley now starting to extend it as he's up to 3.2 seconds ahead of Acosta. It sounds like you've been doing a little research behind the scenes, Chris. Have you got some info on that first race of the trucks at a road course?
Yep, that would have been the 1995 Heartland Tailgate 175 at Heartland Park, Topeka. And for bonus points, Ron Hornaday Jr. was the winner.
I remember seeing him perform very well in the early days of the Truck Series back in the mid-90s.
Yeah, that was probably one of the most fun eras of major NASCAR racing, was those first few seasons of the trucks when they were racing on legitimate local short tracks as well as bigger tracks.
Looks like we got a couple takers in pit lane. Cowgill, Nick Hunter, and I think Brandon Walter is not pitted, but has had a problem. Indeed, yes, the 99 has got around in the first corner. If we want to get a quick replay showing just how hard it is braking into that turn. Let's see, we're watching from on board here.
This first turn is deceptively tricky.
Yeah, it's off the banking, it's curved, it's coming from a decent bit of speed. Yep, he knew it early, he was trying to counter steer, but there was no keeping that tailgate from going around. So he falls down to 13th because of that. After Cowgill exits pit lane, he returns in 18th. Now our highest pitter, I would assume he took tires on that one. Yeah, it looks like 13 seconds. That looks like a 4-tire stop. Oh, and Thomas Sink is in. This is one of our front runners. Looks like he's being joined. Zemke and Dominic Begin also pitting. I'm not seeing any other takers down the lane quite yet behind them.
Very curious to see how the pit strategy plays out for these drivers, especially Thomas Sink being our highest ranked driver to give a shot at a pit lane so far.
Sink out and rolling way ahead of Patrick Cowgill. Sink with a 14-second stop. Nothing special, but a decent one. Zemke with about a 15-second stop, so about a second slower for the 57. Westerfield is now in. I think this is going to be close to Cowgill. I want to say those two were relatively near each other on track before the pit stops. Here we watch the 35 take all 4 tires. Cowgill's actually just coming through the final chicane right now. Interesting thing for those not familiar with this road course, though. Watch this pit exit for Jim Westerfield. It is narrow and it is tough to get out of quickly.
Not to mention it pretty much deposits you right in traffic. So that just makes it even more fun when you're coming back onto the track during a green flag stop.
Looks like he will get out easily ahead of Ilsa. Westerfield is 15th, and our leader's in. After 13 laps, Bradley Hawley elects to take a stop, but Abner Acosta stays out. Now, he's going to lose time, I would think, because he's going to be on older tires, but he'll have fewer laps to do on those tires at the end.
Yeah, would not be surprised at all if this is a net gain for Abner in the end.
All right, Daniel Knight also pitting. Doug Evans is in. Where's Thomas Sink? Sink coming up to the final chicane right now as Holly's already out. He had built such a gap. Really not much hope for anybody to try and jump him.
I imagine Daniel Knight was probably the only other driver with a chance, really, and he decided to head down pit road this time.
There's Holly already back on track. Sink's coming around just as Knight is also exiting. So Sink not able to overtake the 17. He'll stay behind him. We're still waiting on Acosta, Kalen, Chatley, Walter, Aubrey, LaBaff, and Hunter. So now for Abner Acosta. How far does he push it? Does he respond? Or does he try and get as many laps as possible and hope that he can really hustle the car?
Yeah, this will be pretty telling here. I think if he doesn't pit this time, I think he's going to try to hang it out for a little while.
Looks like LaBaff is pitting. Also have Aubrey and Walter in. Staying on the number 5, waiting to see what he decides to do as he comes down to the final chicane, riding on board. Absolutely chucking it into there. Trying to stay off those tall curbs. A little bit of wheel spin, and he is indeed coming in.
Yeah, I was thinking if he didn't come to pit this time, then he was going to really try to stretch it out and build up a gap.
There's the pit comparison between himself and Holly, who's already finished 33.481 cone to cone. Holly already out of the chicane, so making good use of those tires. Yeah, Acosta's still stationary. He's just getting trounced, unfortunately. And he was actually 0.3 quicker in his stall than Holly. But in the end, it was that lap on track that just was on fresh rubber for Bradley Holly that made it play out in his favor. We still haven't seen Brennan Chatley pit. He's the only one looking to go this long to 15 laps in.
Well, Brendan has been known to be a bit of a contrarian when it comes to strategy.
That's a good point. Yeah, I think that's exactly what he's trying to do. Maybe try and get as fresh of a run as he can at the end, just to really burn it up and put some hot laps in. The only thing about that strategy, you really got to be confident in your driving to hustle this car for that long.
That is a really solid point. That it's not going to be fun for these drivers, for Brendan. He's the last one out there on tires that old. And yeah, something happened to Thomas Sink, Joe. Looks like he just disconnected.
Ooh. Let me see if I can see if something happened or what here. Oh, he blew his engine. And in fact, that was because it was a while ago, so we won't get a replay. Oh, it was Daniel Knight that he ran into. Knight had spun coming out of the bus stop chicane. He was stopped across the track. Sink had nowhere to go, smashed into him, and his engine expired because of the damage. In fact, you can see the bent spoiler for Daniel Knight because of that incident as well.
And now Knight might be giving up another position here, Joe.
Yeah, I can't imagine he's too quick in a straight line after that. And probably not handling all that well. Chatley's decided to come in now with 10 laps to go. He will get cycled back, but what kind of lap times can he slide down? Can he slam down here around this track? We watch from on board Evans chasing Knight.
Chatley had about a 20-second advantage over the next closest, so it could potentially work out all right for him. I think either way he's going to come out ahead as far as positions go. but definitely stretched it as long as he could.
And exiting out, there goes Brennan Chatley, but it looks like he'll return in 8th place in the end. Now, he will have a couple laps fresher tires than these two that we just saw battling, Evans and Daniel Knight. This will give us our first hint on if this strategy is actually paying off. And that was Schwartz. That was for position. Oh, no, and they're going to make contact. Schwartz almost pushed off course, and he slides to the inside, the 44 facing the wrong way. Didn't think this one was for position. I thought that was a lap truck, but it was Lee behind him that was lapped, and looked for the over-under. Almost would have had it. Maybe thought he was a little more clear than that, and unfortunately they tangled.
Yeah, and then the 44 hopped over that curb as he came back onto the track, and I think that just did him in there, and he went around.
Well, that takes at least a little bit of the life off of Chatley's fresh tires. He's now got 4.5 seconds to make up to Doug Evans. Let's see if Evans can seal the deal this time. 41 stalking the number 17 with 9 laps to go.
Joe Abner Acosta putting in the fastest lap of the race here in the closing stages.
Certainly looking like he's not slowing down. These two are slowing down into the last chicane one more time. Knight keeping it under wraps here in that 6th position. Ooh, as he has to control the slide coming off and onto the oval one more time. But Evans not really able to do much here. We've lost a number of drivers. We've already mentioned Thomas Sink DNFing. Adam Shane, Aaron Weber, and William Farmer have all DNF'd early on. So we are down to 21 cars still running.
And Daniel Knight there in the 6th position. He looks like he's not doing too bad for the damage that we mentioned that he took on, but Doug Evans is giving it his all. You can see there in that view, Joe, he is just wheeling it around this track.
Yeah, I mean, considering that he was hit broadside, I would have thought he'd have pretty bad suspension damage and the car would be crabbing and ill handling. But doesn't seem too bad from what we've been watching.
Yeah, I mean, that right rear quarter looks a little rough, but otherwise he doesn't seem to be really having any struggles.
Off and around the banking one more time. As Doug Evans watches and thought that maybe a pass was on early, but I guess having gotten used to what the damage is doing to his truck, Daniel Knight has picked up the pace, and it's gone up significantly to where it is now 2 minutes flat a lap just about. Bradley Hawley already has it down to 8 laps to go. He's been unfazed up at the front, 3.8 seconds over Abner Acosta. The 1 lap fresher tires not seem to really do much for the number 5, who is still doing what he can to try and keep him honest, and really has no pressure from behind. Mark Kalen's almost 30 seconds back.
Abner has cut down that advantage pretty decently the last couple laps, though. I mean, you look at the last lap completed, and he was almost a 1.5 seconds quicker than Bradley. It was about a 5-second advantage a couple laps ago, and now he's got it down to close to 3.5.
If any of that's due to traffic. They've got a little bit ahead of them. It's Matthew Kuhanik. Watching from on board Hawley. I can tell you that Acosta's going to be able to get by Kuhanik nice and clean up in front. That's Colton Lane that you can see in the 60. He's got a ways to go before he will be caught, I'm pretty certain, so doesn't need to jump off to the side right this second. Colton Lane is, I think, even lapping cars himself. Nick Hunter's 109 truck lets him through. No, that was for position. I think Nick Hunter may be wounded then. He easily let the 60 by.
Yeah, I feel like I saw somewhere Hunter had an issue earlier on in the race. That could be related to him laying over there.
Boy, a lot of trucks definitely taking advantage of the attrition rate here. As even just finishing will net you a number of spots. We've only got 16 left on the lead lap, for one thing. And one of our drivers that did not qualify, Matthew Aubrey, has gone from 22nd to 14th. In fact, he's actually in a side-by-side battle right now. Aubrey and Cowgill are working their way around the banking. That's Cowgill on the high side and Aubrey on the low side.
That's one thing, if you're not so sure of your road racing skills on this type of race, a lot of times you can hang back like that, not take a qualifying lap, and if you just keep your nose clean, you can gain positions that way pretty easily.
So far, so good. Doesn't take the position away from Cowgill, though. He braked very early. Definitely didn't seem confident of his road course skills there. As I mentioned, these are some of our last drivers on the lead lap, with this being a battle for 14th between the pair of them, gaining a lot more ground back on the 31. Matthew Aubrey, quite strong in the braking zones when he isn't trying to play it super safe up against his rivals. Let's see what he can get coming out of turn one. Not much of an advantage there, unfortunately.
Yeah, I really think Aubrey's probably playing it a little more safe here.
So, off the corner, and once again through the infield, down through the kink. This is one of our closest fights on track. And it is for P13. We're now down to 6 laps to go, and the opportunities are dwindling.
Closing up there as we see the battle on screen.
He's going to have another good shot. See how aggressive he's going to be. Last time he gave it up, even though he was side by side. This time he isn't even side by side yet, but he's tucking into the slipstream. Yeah, he once again brakes very, very early compared to the 31.
Well, discretion is the better part of valor. Sometimes it's better to play it safe than just send it and end up firewall deep in the wall.
That's a fair point. Both of them really sliding it around. As Cowgill stays a little low this time, coming around as he's starting to feel a need to go defensive into this final chicane. They've got William Lee up in front, but Lee is going slowly and he looks aware of the situation. He's going to let the battling cars by. That's been going on. Abner Acosta's gap has suddenly grown. Looks like, yeah, last lap at a 2 flat 9, which is well off the pace he's been running the last few laps since his pit stop.
Yeah, he had been catching Holly about a half second a lap the last couple laps, and something must have happened that last time around because he lost a ton of time.
Not what Abner wanted. As Holly is set to take another victory here. I have to look up his stats and see how many overall wins Holly's managed, either in the truck series or just honestly in either of the oval leagues they run here in the PRL. he's been nearly unstoppable for a number of seasons. That's Hawley going by the lapped car of William Lee as Acosta continues to chase him. Back to the entry to the infield. Knight ahead of Evans, and now Chatley is joining the fray.
Yeah, Chatley had that really late pit stop, but looks like it maybe started to pay dividends for him. Ooh, you see Evans get a little squirrely there off the turn.
I'd say it is. Chatley looked a lot smoother. So as he comes down through the kink, that'll give Brendan 7th place, which is a position up from where he began this race. Still a net gain, even if he doesn't get any more after that. I'd say he could be at least somewhat happy with the way his alternate strategy worked out for him.
Brendan is ever the contrarian, as we mentioned. He did win a race earlier this season, Joe, and due in large part to playing the strategy different than everybody else. And looks like once again it's going to work out for him and get him a pretty good finish.
Things are going to be interesting between Cowgill and Aubrey, but before we go there, Kalen and Bajin also split by only 9/10 of a second, and Bajin has been on a tear of his own, gaining spot after spot. You have to wonder if he hadn't have had that issue on lap 1, would he actually be up potentially with Acosta and Hawley?
That'd be a big ask, but I mean, really, given how much he had to give up on that first lap when he missed that chicane, it's probably not out of the question. I mean, he is all the way up to 4th and knocking on the door of a podium finish.
Indeed. So 1.2 seconds between himself and Mark Kalen, but only 4 laps to effect a pass. What does he have? Oh, to make it happen? That will not help it make it happen. Bajin way too early into the international horseshoe and actually clips the grass.
Well, that's going to do him no favors as far as trying to get on the podium, Joe.
No, certainly will not. But it'll be a relief to Kalen. I'm sure we'll be aware that the truck behind suddenly has a much larger gap between the pair of them. So can't be too upset. Gonna be down to 3 to go here shortly, as Hawley is just coming off of the banking one more time and hitting that final chicane.
The fun part about racing on these big road courses too is you only have 3 laps left, but by the way, that's like 6 minutes of racing.
Yeah, it's not quite as quick to go by as what they're used to on the ovals. The focus absolutely needed from here to the end. Jean very much focused on the tailgate of the 62, as Mark Kalen is doing his best to stay cool under pressure. What can he do to keep Dominic Bajin from managing to pull that podium finish away from him? Taking a look now at Bradley Hawley. 3.5 seconds ahead of Acosta. Last lap between them was actually 1/10 quicker for Acosta compared to Bradley. That's not going to be enough. That'll be too little too late, I'm afraid, if he keeps that up.
Yeah, Abner was able to get back that second he lost a few laps ago, but like you said, Joe, it's too little too late, unfortunately. So this will definitely be one of those races where Abner thinks about what could have been.
Ooh, and I think Cowgill is going to give up the spot. He's telling Aubrey to go by, and indeed, the 95 gets gifted 13th. Drivers are not having an easy time. Cowgill on the radio expressed how poorly he was driving, trying to be chased. Not a driver who likes to play the hare, apparently.
You got to think between that and probably tire fall off at the end of the run. May not have been very much fun playing defense.
You see the 95 taking advantage, gets himself into 13th. Now 2 to go for the number 184. We knew that coming into this thing, Bradley Haley is quite good at road course races. Bradley Hawley, rather.
Yeah, Bradley definitely a very competent road racer, as we saw a few weeks back at Road America.
Quite a different track here compared to what we had back in Wisconsin. Down in Florida, instead, running the NASCAR version of the Daytona road course. Ollie has this thing absolutely under wraps. Weaves it through the kink in the infield. It's up to 4.2 seconds between himself and Acosta. Last time through, Abner slower by about 0.7 of a second.
You know, one of the big differences between the Daytona road course and Road America, of course, is less cheese here in Daytona.
A lot more seafood, though, which makes me happy.
That is fair. I mean, we are pretty close to the water down here.
They're right by the beach. Oh, and Kalen's been overtaken. When did Bijin get... Oh, no. Mark Kalen, speaking of not being good leading the other car, you're going to see that green 62 outbrake himself down into the International Horseshoe with only 2 laps to go. As soon as those wheels went off, there was just no keeping it on the pavement. Had to take the escape road to return. Now, he is actually within a second of Bijin, but considering Dominic chased him down, I don't know how likely it'll be that Mark will be able to retake the spot.
Yeah, that's going to be a pretty big ask right now.
So we watch the 184. Let's go on board to see how a master does it. All the way up to 5 seconds now. Let's listen and see how to wheel one of these trucks on a road course.
Yeah, this is definitely one of the best out there. You can see just so smooth through these turns, Joe, which is not easy to do this late in a run, you know, on the last lap. And with traffic up ahead, he just seems to...
And maybe Mark Kalen will be able to get the spot back, and he did. The 62, oh my goodness. It was wheel spin from Bijin coming off the last chicane. That'll open the door. And you don't have to ask Mark twice. He is going to try to get back onto that podium position. Boy, he took a lot of curb himself. You can see good catch from the 66 to keep it from spinning around, but the damage was done, and Mark was by. Meanwhile, with just a couple corners to go and only 2 braking events left, Bradley Hawley is ready to wrap up win number 3. Walter in front of him, going to stay out of the way, pulls down low, and lets Bradley through the Texan. Probably happy to get a little bit of heat from that computer here today, I'm sure. Down in a very cold Texas, lights up the track and sets it on absolute fire here, as this road course was not able to stop Bradley Hawley from taking his 3rd win, and it's going to be here today at round 8 of the PRL NASCAR Truck Series. Abner Acosta follows him home, trying to minimize the damage on the points gap, but still is in 2nd. And then way back behind them, Bijin's problems compound, and he is no longer even near Mark Kalen. Kalen not slowing it down, though. Clearly hustling the car out of that bus stop chicane.
Yeah, you can't take anything for granted, as we've seen in this race.
Certainly not. This is well earned. Started from 4th and looking at a 3rd. So a nice podium for Mark Kalen. as he celebrates, weaving back and forth across the tri-oval. Behind him, can Daniel Knight manage to fend off Brennan Shatley? Shatley on his way forward. Knight dealing with a limping car, and he will keep it ahead of him. The 17 is going to at least grab a 6th place.
It was crossing the line with style there from Daniel Knight.
I think the last one on the lead lap is going to be Jim Westerfield. He's a ways back from everybody in front of him. Nick Schwartz, Danny Cervantes, the last few down and through. So with that, we're going to take a quick break. We'll come back with the unofficial results as well as driver interviews. Make sure and stick around because there's more to come with our post-race show. Welcome back to Daytona International Speedway. The road course, the NASCAR version, held another win for Bradley Hawley. And by quite a gap, Abner Acosta looked like, at least in qualifying, he was going to give him a run for his money, but it was 6 seconds in the end with Abner dropping down as Bradley seems to have mastered lefts and rights in this truck. Mark Kalin with a nice run to third, but very distant behind our two leaders. Dominic Bejin, he didn't get on the podium, but I think he still needs a pat on the back. Remember, he qualified in 10th, had to deal with all kinds of problems throughout the race, and still finished in 4th today. That's pretty impressive. Adam Zemke was P5, and Daniel Knight finished in 6th. And it's Brennan Shatley, who went the longest of anybody on his first stint. Really didn't get him much. He finished 7th, exactly where he gridded up. Doug Evans was 8th, and Danny Cervantes was 9th, with Nick Schwartz in 10th.
Our last driver on the lead lap was Jim Westerfield in 11th, followed by Brandon Walter in the 99, who had a couple fun moments in that race. Matthew Aubry stayed with it and kept his nose down, came home with a nice 13th place finish. Patrick Calgill in 14th. Colton Lane hung on for a top 15 finish. Then Nicholas Hunter, Stacy Hunter, Matthew Kulhanek, William Lee, and Blaine Adams completed our top 20.
Sadly, everybody from there was a DNF or a DNS today, so they did not see the checkered flag, but this man did. Bradley Hawley taking his third win of the season, and another one at a road course, becoming a bit of a roadmeister here.
Yeah, I guess so. Just practicing.
Welcome
and I guess,
to the Daytona International Speedway. While many oval fans associate this Central Florida track with mainly NASCAR, the road course has gained just as much worldwide fame. Thanks to
I'm sure that certainly came in handy there. But today it looked like the warm-up had you way ahead of everybody else. And then in the qualifying, you missed that first lap. How much pressure were you feeling to try and get the pole away from Abner, especially how tight it wound up being?
Oh, I felt a ton of pressure. I know Abner's really good at road courses, so I knew I had to step up my game a little bit. I did some practicing and kind of figured a couple things out and learned how to. I was more confident on my long run.
Yeah, let's talk about that long run, because we wondered what the strategy would be for most drivers. It looked like you split it mostly halfway. Do you feel like that was the fastest strategy?
Yeah, definitely. Because you gain. I think it was a 3 or 4 second fall off, and I knew Abner was going to try to do the overcut on me, so I went an extra lap to kind of try to throw him off. And I felt like once the tires evened out, there was no getting. He was going to struggle to get to me.
Well, congratulations on another win, and hopefully it's staying warm for you down there in Texas, and feel free to thank whoever you'd like.
I'd like to thank the Waterback guys. We practice week in, week out, trying to figure out what we need to do, how to get fast and all that. You guys for broadcasting us every week. North Star Title for sponsoring me every week, and honestly, Centerpoint right now because my power's still on.
Yeah, can't get a win without having the power on. So Bradley Hawley has got that third victory, but Abner Acosta followed him home yet again, and Chris is going to be talking to him.
Well, Abner, a tremendous run here today. You got close a couple times, but weren't quite able to run him down. Tell us about your race.
Good evening, guys. I felt like at the very start of the stints, like the first 8 or so laps, I think I could keep up or maybe be a little bit faster sometimes. But at the end of those stints, the tires just getting out of those corners, exits, it's just hard to keep the tires on the track. And I just kept losing too much time. And I felt like after I pitted again, I was kind of catching up a little bit. And once I hit that couple of laps, having the same issues getting off the turns, and I just wasn't able to adjust, I guess, properly. But good job to Brad. I mean, it's tough to drive this truck, so good job on him.
Now, what types of unique challenges do you experience racing one of these trucks on a road course versus one of the more purpose-made road course vehicles?
It's definitely throttle control. I feel like in corner adjustments, maybe corner entry, you can make more adjustments on other GT cars, and you don't have to watch the throttle that much. You can hear the tire wear, and throttle control is so important. That has been at least my biggest adjustment. I'm getting better at it, but that right foot just wants to go full throttle, and then you're just spinning your tires. But I feel like I'm making progress, so I'll get there.
All right, Abner, anybody you want to thank that helped make tonight possible for you?
The Waterback guys for helping on these races as well, and you guys for GSRC for broadcasting, and PRL for the league, and anybody that's watching. Thank you.
All right, congratulations again on a great run. That's Abner Acosta, our second place finisher tonight here at the Daytona Road Course.
Third place went to Mark Kalin, who almost watched it slip away. Mark, we saw that mistake heading into the International Horseshoe with 2 laps to go. Did you think to yourself, well, there's the podium, it's gone?
The thought did cross my mind. Kudos to Dominic for, keeping me honest there. And I knew I was faster than him, like the last 6-7 laps. They're like he would gain on me and I'd pull away. But I was confident I could have run him down. I'm just glad because it could have been a lot worse than what it was.
Yeah, certainly. And it looked like it was quite tricky out there today in general, to be honest. These trucks on the road course, I mean, what are your thoughts on how they drive around here?
It ain't easy. That's for sure. I mean, it feels like you're out there, a 3,000-pound hockey player on ice, basically just trying to hold on for dear life. And yeah, I mean, you got to be gentle on the throttle, gentle on the brake, or else you'll lock up real easy. I mean, it was pretty nerve-wracking.
Now, after this, we head over to Atlanta in the trucks. So that's going to be a much quicker and probably a little bit more simpler to get around track. Are you looking forward to returning to the ovals?
I am. I mean, as much as I enjoy the road courses, and I feel like I've greatly improved at the road courses, but the ovals, I mean, I like the ability to race in a tighter pack with more trucks around you. Road courses, you kind of get a little spread out. But yeah, I look forward to the high speeds of Atlanta. Should be an interesting race, and we'll go from there.
Awesome stuff. Well, again, congratulations on managing a podium today, and hopefully we'll get to talk to you down in Georgia.
Well, I do appreciate that. You all have a good one.
That was Mark Kalin, finished third today, and that's going to close out our interview. So before we leave, we want to give a big thank you to our sponsors, starting with Simulation Motorsports Affinity. They can be found at SIMMSA.net if you want to see how you can get involved with the world of sim racing. And of course, if you want to do some trading, check out NinjaTrader, and their website is simply NinjaTrader.com. And finally, for your sim rig, the Butt Kicker products are the way to go, and they can be found at thebuttkicker.com. Thanks to the companies that provide the software and the hardware for our broadcasts we've listed here on your screen. And additional thanks to June Lalonde, who provides our wonderful music. Bandcamp is at the bottom, where you can find more of her great work. Thanks to the team today, Sean, Chris, and Dougie. If you'd like to find out more about GSRC, including upcoming races, you can find it at globalsimracingchannel.com. Also, check out our social media, which includes Twitter at GSR Channel, Facebook at Global Sim Racing Channel, and Instagram at GSRC_Graham. And don't forget to head on over to our YouTube page and hit that big red subscribe button so you don't miss a moment here on GSRC. The next race, as we mentioned, at Atlanta will be Wednesday, February 24th at 9 p.m. Eastern. But we have upcoming races for other series listed on the screen, so check those out and mark them down on your calendar. Until next time, though, race clean, race hard. We'll see you on the track.